Welcome into the Dad Verb podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
Back at it, guys. This episode, we're going to be talking about the power of play. Us as dads, getting on the floor, getting dirty, having fun with the kids. It's actually a super important role that we play as dads. Mom, the nurturer; dad, the roughhouser. And there's like a science behind it. But yeah, we're gonna be diving into that today, and why and how we fill that role as dads, and why it's actually extremely important. Ben in the house, Andrew Saunders in the house. Welcome in, guys. It's interesting because we film these kind of like once a month, and I feel like I don't get to really catch up with all these guys, but there's just so much going on in my end of my world. We got back to school going on as of this recording. So kids are about to fire up school tomorrow. So we're back into that routine.
Broke. You spent all your money on crayons.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Dude, I got some mad good deals off of that over a tax-free weekend, though. I'm like nice. Notebooks for like 30 cents. Crayons. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. But
you bought paper for 30 cents?
Yes, I did. You guys have to deal with back to school stuff. Any pre-K kind of situations yet? Not there yet, right?
Nope. I bought plastic stencils for letters
so
you. We can now work on our letters.
This is a good thing. This is a good. Hey, we're talking about play today, so this is actually a really good thing, man.
Tupperware plastic stencils. They don't make them anymore, but I found the knockoffs.
Amazon.
Yeah.
There you go.
Amazon for the win on that one.
There you go. We're not.
They're made of Chinese.
General question, guys. How often do you play with your kids?
Oh, before this podcast, I was in their bedroom on the floor being beat up.
There you go. There you go.
All the time.
It's daily.
All the time.
That's how it is. Now, this is like no shot at your wives, obviously, because they play with their kids. But in comparison to your wives, a lot of that playtime, that physical playtime, is that fulfilled by both of you or primarily by you guys?
I'm more of the aggressive player. My kids climb on me. My daughter plays drums on my stomach, and we have to actually tell her, no, you cannot hit and play drums on anyone but Dad and Argos. And Argos is the 80-pound German Shepherd. But she's just going to town, wailing on me to the point where it's like, okay, hold on. I think you dislocated a rib.
But yeah, I think we're kind of in the same camp. My oldest, massive sports nerd already, like football, baseball, and both of us are sitting there. If he needs a cookie or a little snack or something like that, mom. But when it comes to hey Dad, can we play this card game? Hey Dad, can we throw? Hey Dad, can we do this? It's just like we fit that those needs. And it's interesting how we kind of work into that. I kind of grazed over you, Ben, but give me a quick anecdote for you. What does play look like in your home?
So I mean, a lot of I would guess the mind play, right? So the more mental stuff, like doing puzzles and maybe doing art projects and crafts and stuff. A lot of that my wife does. She really enjoys that kind of stuff. I do enjoy doing puzzles and kind of enjoy that challenge with him, but all the physical play, my son loves to wrestle. And so every night, we'll set a wrestling timer of 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the night, and we'll just go to town. And it's just power bombs into the bed and him jumping off stuff and onto me. And then my daughter started getting into it. So the real physical play, sports and playing golf and playing soccer and throwing the baseball, the majority of that is me. And but I also really enjoy it.
So here's the interesting research-based findings on that. And I'll just read this. Studies indicate that children who regularly play with their fathers tend to exhibit better social skills, including increased empathy and the ability to manage emotions effectively. This is partly because fathers often introduce different play styles, such as more physical and rough and tumble play, which helps children learn about boundaries and self-regulation. So it's interesting that that role that we play has a real effect on how they are growing up. I mean, does that surprise you when you guys hear that?
No, not at all. I mean, there's all the research done on just having a father in the house increases a child's vocabulary by like thousands of words because of the way men use vocabulary is very different than the way women use vocabulary. And so there's been more than one research study that's shown like just having a father figure, you're better at vocabulary and language than people who didn't have a father figure.
Yep. And critical thinking skills as well. Creativity. I like a lot of these. And I wish I could like find these. Just well, like, in like researching and like reading about this topic, like coming into this podcast, it's just fascinating. The actual ramifications of like the simplicity of just like us just messing around with our kids, just playing rough, how it actually has important cognitive developmental how the impact that it has on our kids. It
even has it has big physical development skills or developmental impacts too, right? So one of the things I was looking at when we had our first kid was like, okay, rough play. Because like the first thing you want to do as a dad is like, yeah, you want to cuddle them and stuff, but then you kind of want to start like really playing with them and they start to laugh and really enjoy it. And so there were two big things that were coming out of this research. And like number one was fathers and children experience peak oxytocin levels. So that like sort of bonding chemical, right? Like peak happiness happens when fathers are physically playing with their children, whether it's boy or girl, right? So you experience peak oxytocin levels both as the child and as the parent when fathers physically play with their kids.
Yeah.
The second thing that they showed was that the physical development of children was better if they experienced like rough play earlier in life. Now, obviously, like within bounds, like you don't want to throw your newborn across the room because it like looks, it's funny or whatever.
Right.
But you want to, like, I would do stuff with our kids that like my wife wouldn't, right? Like I'd kind of swing them around, like hold their head and like swing them around a little bit, or like kind of do like airplanes and do all kinds of stuff that normally, a mom might look at that and think like, oh my God, that's just a little too much.
Yeah.
But they've actually shown that physical play helps them develop body awareness. It helps them develop like their neck muscles and head control. Just as much as like, doing tummy time and doing all this developmental stuff you would do on the ground. It's like, just leave it to dad to go out and, play a little rough with them. And like, it will help them develop both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
I like how Ben articulated it, and I'm going with, you can look left and right. Let's see if I can throw you to the ceiling. Right? Ha, gotcha. Right? Yeah. Your significant other wife is over there like, what are you doing to the child? I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can get him between the blades on the ceiling fan. Like, right? Like, come on, we've all done it. You just go, oh, there's a ceiling fan. I shouldn't throw you today. All right, my bad.
Improved discipline, patience, focus, academics. Like the studies have shown that there are hugely positive correlations between dad play and children at a young age. The thing that I always struggle with though is, and this is where it's tough because sometimes we're just too burned out, and especially with our oldest, it's like he has a hard time like finding other sources of play, because like I've mentioned in the previous podcast, like he's just like, he's not a toy kid. He just doesn't like toys as much as our other son, who really enjoys like magnet tiles and really into Legos and all that. Our oldest, he's just not a toy kid, so he really needs my guidance when it comes to play, even like simple ideas, just like, hey, why don't you draw a picture and write a letter to a friend? Or I always have to like, let's play dodgeball with the little fake snowballs and all that stuff. So like, that's where I kind of struggle, where it's like, I know my role and how it's important, and we've played plenty, but like sometimes it's just like is too much. Right. And that one quote, play is the work of the child, where I'm like really trying to like get to work to figure something out, man. Don't just sit there waiting for me to play. Right. And that's where I just feel like this guilt kind of a thing sometimes, where I'm just like, I'm not in the mood to like fulfill that need, you should be able to figure that out on your own, right? That's why we made you a brother.
I mean, we've had to force our 2-year-old. We've started having to be like, no, you go play on your own.
Right? Yeah.
Like, no,
exactly.
This is not, like, she is so socially motivated.
Yeah.
That it's like, nope, I'm gonna put your sister down for a nap, and you're gonna go play on your own for a while.
Yeah.
And like the first few times, it was like a right.
Yeah.
Now it's like, fine, I'll go play with my cars, or right. Like she's starting to get it, but same thing. And it's really hard for my wife to just like not engage with her, and I'm like, leave her alone, let her play. Like, right. Well,
because
the tough love. I used air quotes there for those audio listeners.
I always forget. I'm always thinking that this is primarily YouTube audience. No, this is actually primarily audio audience. Yeah. I remember hearing from this one. She's a little extra crunchy, but she's a big advocate of like no screen time, like really anti. So I kind of take everything she says with a grain of salt. Her name is Jerica Sand. She's really interesting about finding creative ways to play and engage, or giving them the tools to play on their own. And one key thing is like if you see them actually playing and engaging, there's a natural tendency to like want to check like, hey, how's it going? Even that little bit of interruption pulls them out of that world of play, and to never do that. If they're playing, just like let them just keep going. Never intrude on that.
Do
on that
not
moment.
interrupt.
Yes, because that's just gonna what they're doing is good. They don't need you. They don't need you, and it's something that we struggled with early on, because there's always that want to just be like, are you good? Are you, because like you feel like you're supposed to be involved, but no, independence is just as important as our physical ability to play as well. Do you guys have any other thoughts that you wanted to add here?
I mean, I don't know how much of our listeners, like, we're 3 dads with wives, right? But we never talk about the dads who like only get weekends with their kids, or only get the limited amount of time, right? And I think it is important for those dads to spend a little bit of time when you're not with your kids to know how to maximize your effect, right? Because the research is very clear that growing up without a dad in the home can have detrimental effects, right? Behavioral problems, low self-esteem, depression, alcohol abuse, early sexual activity, right? Trust issues. Like there's a ton of just things that aren't okay. And so if you're unfortunately in one of those situations where you don't see your kids every day, you have to make sure you can maximize those things, and finding those activities that allow you to instill the virtues in your kid, right? The way you want to. And I mean, we should probably find somebody who's divorced and have them join the panel so they can provide a different perspective than happily married man with kids, Sorry about that.
I will say,
it down a dark road.
I will say one of the things that I think we all experience, right, is the distractions, right? So, Andrew and I, we both have full-time jobs and we create content online. So like my phone is always going off. There's always an email, a notification, something happening, right? Or even just, I've realized too, I have this just a desire to check it just as soon as I have downtime, as soon as I'm, waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting for something to cook. I'm waiting for this to happen or whatever. My first inclination is to grab my phone out of my pocket and just check it, because I just don't want to be bored.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm trying to be more mindful of and really make a conscious effort of is what we found is, like, especially with our son, he needs a lot of connection. And so for him, if we come home and he comes home from school and, mom and dad are checking their phones while we're making dinner, and even if he's kind of off playing by himself or watching a show or whatever, we notice that over time, his behavior gets sort of progressively worse, right? It gets kind of more aggressive. He gets a little more standoffish. He doesn't really want to listen. He doesn't want to engage. And one thing we started trying to really make an effort of is that when we come home at night, there's sort of this dedicated family time. So there's a block of time from let's say 5 or 6 until the kids go to bed at, somewhere between 8 and 9 by the time we're done with bedtime, where our phones go away. They get plugged in a different room, put in a bedroom upstairs so that we cannot access them. Now, we both still have watches, so if something critical comes through, like, we can still be contacted. But what we found is by taking that distraction away and making sure that, okay, when we're done with dinner, we're either going for a walk or we'll just go upstairs and play. So we'll be done with dinner. We'll take both kids upstairs. One parent will clean up dinner. The other one will go upstairs and just start playing with the kids. And then the second parent joins. And we do puzzles and play games and build blocks and do all this. There has been a noticeable change in our son's behavior simply by giving him that really dedicated, focused time where we're not distracted by a device or a show or something. There's been, I wouldn't say like a 180-degree change, but there has been, he's still 4, right? Like, he still has all his rebellious tendencies and no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to eat this and whatever, toddlers like to do. But his ability to connect to his emotions and what he's feeling and regulate and know that, like, well, I'm just mad about this thing. I'm not really, mad at mom or dad. I don't need to throw something or do something to my sister to get attention. He's less attention seeking because he's getting, for lack of a better term, I guess, his attention cup filled by us not being distracted.
Do you ever
I think
feel like
play is super important, but we need to make sure that play is like, it's quality time that we're spending together.
Do you struggle to because what I struggle with is balancing all 3 of my kids. Do you find that struggle with your 2 kids where, like, because when I come home, all 3 want to play with me, especially my youngest, my daughter. She's just like, she and I have such a fun, playful relationship. And she just demands so much time, though. And she's the youngest, and she's the princess, and she gets it. But I always struggle because my oldest, he's like, he wants to throw and play, and then my middle, he's wanting to build a new Lego set with me. He doesn't want to do he wants to do it with me, And I always feel like I'm pulled multiple ways, and that's kind of where I struggle. Do you feel that?
Yeah,
we all have favorites.
I do.
Don't lie.
Yeah, but but here's the thing, and it's hard to admit, but there are times where, especially during certain stages, one kid is easier than another, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And it's so, like, I'd rather do my daughter's bedtime because it's easier. To be frank, like, if I'm tired at the end of the day, it's easier to do her bedtime. It doesn't take as long. She's pretty straightforward. She reads one book, drinks a bottle, and goes to sleep.
Yeah.
But I think it's where when we feel like that imbalance of, we know one kid's not getting enough time, is we also try to, like, on weekends or, if we have the ability to take any time off, which, not everybody does. We're fortunate enough to be able to do that sometimes. Is I might take like an early day on a Friday, or I might Saturday morning, I'll get up. Like, we have a local bakery we love to go to, and I'll just wake my son up and take him with me and say, all right, dad's going to go to the bakery. We're going to get breakfast for mom and Rory. Like, we can sit and eat our breakfast there, and then we'll bring stuff back for them. And so we get this time, and he's now started calling it boys time, which is like the best thing in the world. Like, he walked up to me the other day. He's like, Dad, I'm going to ride home with you. I think we need some boys time. And I was like, cool, man. Like, perfect. Yeah. You're right at that age.
Yeah.
And we just, like, we'll ride over to the bakery, grab some coffee, kind of sit and talk to all the people there for a little bit, and then bring everything home. And then we spend family time. But having that one-on-one time with him, and then trying to also have that one-on-one time with her, and both my wife and I both do this. It makes it a little easier when you do get to those points where somebody's just demanding more attention, to not feel as guilty about it. Not that you don't, but it helps balance it out a little bit.
I think one thing that we all, any listener can relate to this to some extent, though, is that we all have some form of, like, a slight addiction to our phones, and being conscious, to your point, of, like, being intentional about that time for kids. And to kind of take a break away from that just for a moment. I'll never forget, like, my daughter's favorite toy really is playing with her with the Magnetiles. It's just she loves it. And I remember I was upstairs, I was playing with her, and for a moment I looked at my phone, had an alert come in. I'm scrolling through, looking through emails, and then she I'm sitting on the floor with her, and she comes up, she stops playing, she grabs my face and points it at her face, and she goes, "Daddy, no, play choice, play choice." Which is her just being like, "Dad, just play toys with me, play toys."
Yeah.
And she says that a lot, like, "Daddy, upstairs, play choice, play choice." And it's like it's the best, but they crave it, they want it, and it's important that we do it more than just like, I got to play with my kids. There's actual correlations to better outcomes in life for them. The more we do that, we fill a very important role as men, as dads. To round things out, though, got to give a shout out to something that we've been pining for a long time. We're always talking about, hey, one day we're going to get a sponsor. We actually got a small one.
Hey,
our friends over at huckberry.com. Ben, are you wearing your Huckberry right now? I'm wearing my Huckberry stuff.
I am. I got their it's their heavyweight American pocket tee, I think is the name of it. Super like thick heavyweight cotton tee, really comfortable, super soft. But they have so much stuff over there. They sent us a couple pieces to check out. I think I've got a couple button ups and a few pairs of pants that I have loved. I mean, I took them right out of the package, put them on. It was like I'd worn them forever. So excited to check out some more stuff. Excited to have a sponsor for the show, and hopefully bring you guys some interesting things to make your closet a little easier to manage and keep you looking good. Because dads don't have time to shop. I don't like shopping.
Oh yeah, we're not.
Actually,
we're
I
not
do like shopping. I lied. I love shopping, but
we're not.
I don't want to take the time to do it.
We're not super at the point yet of going down the Costco aisles and finding good finds at Costco yet, right? Maybe we
not
are.
yet.
No, I don't know. But for now,
I'm not far out. But
look, if I can't have it delivered to the house, it doesn't need to be on my body. Like, and
perfect segue. Huckberry's all online, and hopefully we'll have a Dad Verb storefront set up there soon, and you guys can go check out some of our favorite items.
Is this going to be another one of those things where like they don't sell hats in my size?
Possibly. No, I don't know.
Maybe.
So yeah, we'll have that link for you guys to check out Huckberry. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Dad Verb Podcast, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.